All weight classes in women's powerlifting have leveled up over the past year, but a lot of them are still continuing to get better. These are my rankings of the most exciting women's weight classes based on the top 10 active lifters in each of them right now. You cannot afford to miss the ones near the top of this ranking. So I am judging this based on how tight the battles are in the weight classes and also the wow factor of the divisions. I'm going to leave the criteria at that because it's the same as my ranking of the men's weight classes, which I'll leave a link to if you haven't seen that already in the description. But coming in at number 8 is the 84 kilo weight class. Of course, the one that is ruled by Amanda Lawrence and has been ruled by her for well over half a decade now. 647, she sits on top of that list as the reigning world champion world record holder. She's actually a 6-time world champion now, 647 kilos. Coming in number 2, quite a ways behind, 40 kilos behind in fact, is Ziana Azariah, who came in second at Worlds this year from Great Britain. Now, to be fair, she did total 617.5 at World Games, although she weighed in at 88.6, so quite a ways above the weight class limit. Then you have Margaret Nasates, 591.5, who's a USAPL lifter. Kristen Thorhallsdottir from Iceland, who's 590, although that came a couple years ago, and since then, in 2022, she's dropped down into sort of the mid-5s. Michelle Robbins, Tiffany Savage, some more American lifters, Layla Taylor, who was the junior world champion in 2024. You have Mara Hames, who's a German lifter, of course, Jess Bittner from Canada, 571.5. She has hit 585 as a 76 when she won Worlds in 2022 in that weight class. Now that she's moved up, she hasn't quite gotten back to her top form, although I feel like she definitely could. And then Audrey Miller rounding out the top 10 there. So the thing with this weight class is Amanda is so far ahead, it kind of makes it not that exciting and pretty much predictable every single time. Similar to how I had the 120 pluses in the bottom of the list when I did the men's rankings, where it's pretty much Jesus at the top by heaps, and he hasn't been able to catch his best total for a few years. 84 is an even more extreme example of that because he feels like Amanda Lawrence is just as far ahead as Jesus, except she's sort of been stagnant for longer than that because 647 is her best ever total. I think that came at Sheffield last year, but she totaled 646 all the way back in 2020. So in 5 years, she's put 1 kilo onto her best ever total. And she's far ahead, but she hasn't exactly extended her record by quite that much, which means compared to the other women's weight classes, it just isn't as exciting to me. Although this could change if Agatha Shitko joins this weight class and we see the most hyped battle in women's powerlifting history with Amanda versus Agatha. But for now, I have it at number 8. Number 7 is the 52s. This is an interesting one because this is one where the current world champion has vacated, Evie Corrigan, and moved up a weight class. I'll speak more about that later. But for now, the number 1 ranked active 52 is Megan Lee Smith, who actually is the world record holder now, right? And actually did beat Evie head-to-head at World Games and take her world record, 482.5, when she placed second in the division at World Games this year. Then you have Ploen Dekkers in at number 2 from Netherlands, being a mainstay in the world's podium level for a while. Noemi Alibert from France, former world champion at 1,000 pounds. Emily Martin, another French woman. Catherine Gagne from Canada. Then you have Leah Lucas, again from France. Farhana Farid, the monster deadlifter from Singapore, who deadlifts whatever the hell she wants to. It seems like she's been extending a deadlift record for ages now. Serene Gaynor-Metzinger was the American national champion this year. Kavishi Kariwasam from New Zealand. And Sarah Mercer, another American, rounding out the top 10. So the 52s in the previous couple of years has pretty much been Evie Corrigan far ahead, and Megan Lee Smith this year finally caught up and finally beat her. But now that Evie's moved on and she's said that she's done with the 52s, she's now 57, that kind of leaves this weight class in limbo where it's pretty much Megan Lee Smith taking the mantle of Evie Corrigan and being pretty far ahead. And don't get me wrong, it's still exciting to see a new champion emerge, right? But it still isn't exactly tied at the top. I mean, Ploen Dekker's quite a ways back. Noemi Alibert, her best total came a couple years ago now. Then you have some, young, exciting lifters coming up too. Of course, Farhana Farid's deadlift is always going to be super exciting to watch because she smokes it every single time, and I can't wait to see how far she can push that world record. But compared to the other weight classes, it just isn't quite up there in terms of excitement for me. Number 6 is the 69s, and this is another vacated weight class where the world champion and world record holder has moved on. The world champion, of course, Agata Shitko, I'm assuming she's going up to 76s. So number 1 in this weight class, you have Carola Gara, multiple time world champion, world record holder, absolute legend in the game, 588.5. Leah Bavois, 585 as well, multiple time world champion, absolute legend. Although she has taken a bit of a hiatus from the sport. I don't know when she's going to come back. I know she's been posting training again and some pretty respectable lifts at that in training. So when she comes back, Carola versus Leah would absolutely make this class one of the most exciting again. But I don't know if we're going to see that based on when Leah comes back. Chandler Babb, who took a podium at this year's Worlds, also former multiple-time world champion in her own right. Janae Kovacs, junior world champion, 567. Celine Crum, half a kilo below that. You have sort of these trio of Americans there, well, actually quadruple trio, or quad of Americans with Janae, Celine Crum, Gaby Martinez, and Jackie Maleta are all pretty close, all American lifters competing for that world spot. Marte Chenner also has been a mainstay around the podium level at Worlds from Norway. 552.5 is the best total, but she totaled 5 kilos more, weighing slightly above the 69s at World Games. Annie Nelson from Great Britain, and Dorina Bouchou, another French woman, rounding out the top 10. So the 69s are quite an exciting class, right? The only reason it's number 6 is because I just think the 5 above it are that much more exciting. Not to say 69s aren't. But yeah, if Leah comes back at full strength, then Carola v Leah has always been one of the best rivalries in the women's game, so it's going to be amazing again. Chandler Babb has caught a second win in her career, and Janae Kovacs has come along, junior world champion. She's now the number 1 ranked American, ahead of that super strong trio in Celine, Gabby, and Jackie. Plus, you can't count out Marte and Annie Nelson either. So, pretty exciting class, and I can't wait to see how it develops and shakes up in the next year or so. But number 5 is the 76ers, and this is where Agata Shitko has moved up. I mean, I'm assuming she will. I don't even know she's announced it yet, but I know that she wants to face off with Amanda Lawrence in 84s long term, so she's going to have to, you know, take a pit stop in the 76ers, you would think. Plus, the 76 world record is lower than Agata's 69 world record, so it makes sense that at Sheffield she goes as a 76, assuming she is able to go to Sheffield with all that political crap aside, which hopefully she will be. But 635 is what Agata has totaled as a 76 lifter, and that was obviously not a filled out 76. In fact, it was only a few weeks after she set the 69 world record at Sheffield with 628. So she can definitely do a lot more than that, you would think. But yeah, reigning world champion, world record holder in the 69s, and just the strongest female powerlifter of all time. Karlina Tongatea, 620 kilos. She's also the reigning world record holder and world champion in the 76s, because Agata's 635 she did was not at an international meet, so Karlina still holds the world record and also is the world champion there. Then Crane and Warford from America, 595, who came very close to beating Karlina and pulling for the win at Worlds this year. So it might seem like that gap, 25 kilos, is pretty big, but it's not as big as it would seem, because Crane is right there. Laura Matalin from France also came quite close to giving Karlina a scare at Worlds this year, podiumed 590. Again, she's closer than the 30 kilo spread would suggest. Sami Depas, Zuzana Mazur, 575.5, is the junior world champion from Poland, another super strong Polish woman who is pretty damn young, I feel like 19 or 20 years old. And again, you would think she's going to keep improving and be pushing potentially up into the high 5s and 6s somewhat soon. Clara Perot, mainstay around the top, French woman. Lucy Stefanikova from Iceland, and Emily Reynolds and Jasmine C, 2 American women rounding out the top 10. So yeah, the reason why this class is so exciting to me is because we're going to see Agata against Karlina again, which we've seen actually twice now. At 2023 Worlds, Karlina beat Agata head-to-head. That was the last time Agata has ever been defeated. That was at 2023 Worlds when she was a 76, before she dropped to 69 and put up all those insane performances. And then 2024 Worlds, Agata came back and beat Karlina head-to-head. So this would be sort of like the Rottman match, and Agata is the heavy favorite. I mean, she's already 15 kilos ahead, and that is still nowhere near filling out the 76s when she did that. But Karlina is also getting stronger, 620, and you never know, she's also got a big deadlift on her, so it's going to be pretty close between them, even though Agata is quite the heavy favorite. And then Cranen and Laura are also very close to the 600s and gave Carlina quite the scare at Worlds. So they're also right there. And then Susanna Mazur is a big reason why this class is so exciting, because she's a super strong junior who is progressing real quickly, and I don't think it's going to be long before she's pushing the 600s as well. Plus, the whole champ versus champ thing is always exciting and cool when you have two reigning world champions going head to head against one another. It's like the closest thing powerlifting has to a champ v champ face off, like you see in the UFC world. But yeah, 76ers is my 5th most exciting weight class. Number 4 is the 47s. Now this class has heated up quite a bit as of late. So you have Heather Connor sitting at the top, 435. She's the world champion that she's actually done several times now, won worlds. But coming back and doing it this year against Tiff was that much more impressive. And the world record holder, Tiff, was the 4-time world champion, 434.5. Obviously held the world record for ages as well. And she did in fact total 450 at World Games, weighing in a whopping 100 grams over the weight class limit. She weighed in at 47.1 and totaled 450. So she's definitely above the 430s, although Heather officially is still the strongest 47. Jess Espinal, former world record holder, American, 433.5. Leanne Lee, another American, Advankus Houston, 422.5. So she's also pushing those top 3 ladies. Vicky Kijum-Naipon from Australia, 412.5, world's podium from this year. You have Marie Joaquin from Canada, 409, who's actually a former 52 lifter, quite underrated because she totaled 431.5 as a 52. Now, granted, she's going from 52 to 47 is quite a big jump, quite a big drop in terms of relative body weight loss, but she's 409. Can she get back to close to her all-time top strength? Because if she can, she's also going to be a threat. You have another Canadian, Arlene Nguyen, Annalisa Motta from Italy, Ines Herbau, the junior world champion from France, and Delaney Sousley, the USAPL champion, who is only 19 years old herself and getting close to the 400 kilos. So this weight class is all about Heather v Tiff, and that is what makes it as exciting as it is, although you also have a very strong supporting cast under them. I know Jess Espinal hasn't competed in a while, but if she does come back and goes head-to-head against some of these strong Americans like Leanne and Heather at the Powerlifting America level, that would be sick. And then whichever one faces off against Tiff would be, that would be an amazing clash if we can get multiple of them against Tiff as well at the same meet. So yeah, you have a lot of strong 47s who, the fact that almost the full top 10 is in the 400s now is crazy, because it wasn't that long ago that, it was pretty much just Tiff and not many other lifters in the 400 plus club as a 47. But the rematch between Heather and Tiff is going to be absolutely crazy at Sheffield. They're both going to be at Sheffield. And it was one of the most dramatic moments of Worlds this year when Heather Connor came out and pulled that winning deadlift to get the upset win over Tiff and give her first head-to-head defeat in her career. And like I said, Tiff has since unofficially taken the world record to 450 because she weighed in 0.1 of a kilo over when she did that at World Games on her way to winning. So, Tiff has a claim to be the strongest 47 right now, as does Heather, and both also have claims to be the greatest in that weight class. So that rematch is going to be absolutely epic, and there are a lot of strong 47 kilo women who are coming up as well to try and get that top spot. Into the top 3, and we're on to the 63 kilo weight class. So here you have Meg Scanlon on top, 566 that she did at PNAS this year, is the biggest official 63 total we've ever seen. Obviously, it was not done at an international, but she also has totaled 573.5 that she did at Advankus Houston, although she weighed in the 69 kilo class. Technically, she weighed in at 66.4 kilos, so kind of halfway between the 63s and 69s, but still, to be in the 570s is pretty damn crazy. And yeah, by the numbers, she's still the strongest 63, even though Alba Borstrom has had all the accolades this year as a 63. She's won worlds, set the world record, and also won world games, matching that same world record. She totaled 565 at both those meets, winning both of them, so she's the current world champion and official world record holder. Chiara Bernardi, 560. super strong Italian who was also right in the mix at Worlds. She actually came second, beating Meg Scanlon and just losing to Alba. And a lot of people, based on her training, thought that Chiara Bernardi was actually the favorite going into Worlds and thought she was going to win and thought she was the strongest based on the crazy train numbers she's put up, myself included. And I still think we haven't quite seen the strongest version of Chiara Bernardi at 63 yet, given that she unfortunately got screwed over at World Games, bombing out due to elbow depth. So we didn't quite get to see how strong she was. And I think she only got one squat in when she took that silver medal at Worlds this year. Then Christiane Hazard, there's a bit of a drop-off here from the top three. But that's pretty much just because the top three are so far ahead and just such outliers in their own right. But Christiane Hazard in at number 4. USAPL lifter, was a USAPL national champion this year, but she's coming across to Powerlifting America. She's seen the light and she's done with USAPL and she's going to Powerlifting America. She's going to be competing at SBD Austin, and that's going to be awesome to see because 525 and getting stronger, she's going to be someone who potentially can build up towards threatening that top 3. Kaylee Sue Denis and Betty Abora, both Dutch women. Betty Abora was the junior world champion this year and got a monster deadlift on her. Natalie Hunter is who Betty Abora beat at junior worlds this year by half a kilo. Super strong American lifter. Angelina Martinez, Immaculita Soto Ruiz from Spain, and May Anguili Seguil from also the USAPL. So there's your top 10. And for me, even though there's a bit of a drop-off from the top 3 down, the fact that those 3 women are so close together and the battles we're seeing between them, that is why the 63 is ranked so high. I mean, I could watch Meg v Alba v Chiara all day long, right? Just the excitement we saw at Worlds this year, and I mean, I don't think anyone really predicted it was going to turn out in that order. Alba, Chiara, Meg. I think going in, the favorites were actually between Meg and Chiara. Alba comes out and wins it. Meg finishes 3rd despite putting up the biggest performance at PNouts coming into it. Yeah, it's going to be crazy when we see the rematch with all 3 of them. And of course, being from 3 different nations, America, Sweden, and Italy respectively, we're going to see them clash at the top international level multiple times, you would think, which is going to be awesome. We are going to see Alba and Chiara at Sheffield, so we are going to see the rematch there, which, again, we sort of got screwed out of that from World Games because of Chiara's robbery on bench. And then Meg Scanlon, of course, we saw her total in the 570s, granted as a 69, but still 570s is pretty damn nuts. So when we do see her come back and clash against those 2 Europeans, it's going to be crazy. And plus Christiane Hazard, another top American, joining this top 63s in Powerlifting America. So maybe Meg actually will have a battle on her hands moving forward. Who knows? Number 2 is the 84 pluses. This was so close to being number 1. I had a very hard time differentiating between this and, of course, now you know 57s will be my number 1. But man, the 84 pluses are amazing. So Brittany Schlater is the current world champion, world record holder from Canada, 737.5, beating out her eternal rival Sunita Mulu, who's 735.5, former world champion in her own right, former world record holder. And the battle between these two has been absolutely amazing. I'll come back and elaborate more on that after I go through the rest of the top 10. We have Natalie Lalai, the greatest female deadlifter of all time, from Australia. Luciane Lafayette, also from Australia, both in the high 6s. Benika Brown, former, I don't even know how many time world champion she is, like 6, 7, 8, whatever the number is, 680. Not quite at her best anymore nowadays, but still right up there and an absolute legend. So it's great to see her lift every time she takes platform. Jewel Tarsi and Marilyn Etalay, 2 very strong women from New Zealand in the 670s. Daria Efimtseva, Russian, and Emily Mergier, super strong bencher from France, and Mackenzie Lai from Canada, rounding out that top 10. So a big reason why this is my number 2 is purely because of Brittany v Sunita. Brittany v Sunita has been the single best rivalry in women's powerlifting for the last few years. The back and forth we've seen between them, the alternating wins, the drama, just has been absolutely crazy. The fact that they're both so far ahead of everyone and they're so close together as being the strongest women ever, and the fact that both their primes as the strongest women ever have overlapped to give us this legendary rivalry is amazing, right? Since like 2023, which was the crossover point between the Benika Brown dominance and Brittany and Sunita sort of taking the 1 and 2 spot from her, Since then, they've been alternating wins back and forth, right? Since 2023 Worlds, we've seen them clash at the 2 World Since, at the 2 Sheffield Since. And like I said, sometimes Sunita comes out on top, sometimes Britt does. You never know who's going to win out of the two of them because it's always so damn close. And here's the thing when it comes to super heavyweight powerlifting, both in the men and the women, this is the only time we've ever had two people at the top who are super close and a real legendary rivalry in the class. The 120 pluses on the men's side went from Ray Williams dominating to Jesus dominating and no overlap amongst them, right? Unfortunately, which I talked about in my last video when I ranked the men's weight classes. And the 84 pluses for the longest time was dominated by Bonica Brown with no one close to her. Now we have Brittany and Sunita, who are not only in the 700s, which no woman ever has been, they're getting towards the mid 700s, damn near 50 kilos ahead of everyone, right? And they have each other to push each other to that next level. It's one thing to see a crazy weight class battle in any weight class, but it's another thing when they're two of the strongest people ever, right? Two of the strongest women ever. It's just cool to see a battle with the strongest weight class and the strongest people, because we're not used to seeing it. It's the first time it's happened in powerlifting, raw tested powerlifting history, and that's why it's so amazing to watch. And then of course you have, Bonica, who's still in the mix, although total's a bit down, and you have the 2 Australian, the 2 New Zealander ladies, getting towards the high 6s. Natalie Lalai, her deadlift as well is a big reason why this class is so exciting to watch, because you always know she's going to load last, and you never know what crazy number she's going to put on. I don't even know what a world record is now, 280s or something like that, but she attempted 300 kilos at World Games, I think, and she came, not that far off from getting it. It's just her grip gave out. And I think she also had a misload where she loaded like 320 kilos or something stupid on the bar, and she actually got it to almost her knees. That's a 700 plus pound pull. So Natalie Lalai's deadlift is crazy. And yeah, this weight class is awesome, and it is so refreshing to have a super heavyweight class rank this highly. But my number one pick for the women is the 57s. The 57s are absolutely stacked. So you have Sarah Naldi at the top, who is the current world champion and world record holder from this year with 520. She's a former 63 lifter, and she's totaled 537.5 before in the weight class up. But recently at World Games, she competed at 57.5 kilos, and she totaled 530. So she totaled 10 kilos above her world record, although she weighed in heavy, so didn't eat into any Sheffield advantage she had, but it shows you she's still got a few more kilos in the tank. Jade Jacob is another former world champion world record holder from France, 519.5. I know totals dipped a bit, but since she's recovered and she's now getting closer to getting back to peak strength. Natalie Richards, former world champion in 2023 and world's best lifter from 2023 as well, 516.5 she hit at Sheffield 2024. Since then, she's unfortunately been injured and her totals dipped quite a bit, but similar to Jade, she's on an upward trajectory, getting back into well into the 500 pluses, challenging for that top spot again. Joy Namani, absolute legend, 4-time world champion, twice in this weight class, 506 kilos is her best ever total in the 57s, although she has totaled 527.5 kilos at 60.7 kilos at World Games. So she weighed in between the 57s and 63s and totaled well into the 520s, 527.5 in fact. I'm pretty sure she's staying 57s. I don't think she's going back up to 63s. I know she said that 57s is the class she feels the best in. So yeah, she's well and truly capable of getting that top spot again, which is crazy because she's been around for so long and continuing to get stronger. Bobby Waters from Great Britain, a mainstay near the top, 492.5, although she totaled in the 500s at World Games. She totaled 502.5, weighing in at 57.6, so not as far above the weight class as Joy did, but she's also in the 500s. Solon Factra Powell from France, Adejoke Adeteo, another British lifter. Evie Corrigan, this is what pushed the 57s into the top spot for me, is Evie Corrigan. So Evie, moving on from the 52s that she's dominated since she dropped down at the inaugural Sheffields. She used to be a 57 lifter, so her best total actually came in the 57s with 484. Now that was done in 2023, so that was a couple years ago now. And since then, when she's dropped to 52s, her best 52 total was 481. right? Where she was quite a ways ahead, and that was a world record for a while until Megan Lee Smith came and beat her at World Games and took that mantle from her. But the fact that she's totaled only 3 kilos below that as a 52, you would think that when she comes back as a 57, her total is going to be well beyond that. And I anticipate she's going to be 500 plus the first time we see her take the platform as a 57. She could even be pushing for that top spot held by Sarah Naldi. Then Mayra da Silva Diaz as well from Spain. And then Bria Williams, another American lifter, rounding out the top 10. 57s are crap. I mean, you look at the top 3 alone, and those are the 3 most recent world champions, right? Sarah Naldi, Jade Jacob, Natalie Richards. Yes, Jade and Natalie haven't quite been fully at their best, but they're getting back there, and when they are at their best, who knows what they're going to total. And Sarah Naldi has already totaled 530, and she's probably going to need to total beyond that if she wants to continue to be on top of this list. Then Joy Namani, an absolute legend, also huge deadlift, right? Came very close to pulling for the win. In fact, actually both Jade Jacob and Joy Namani pulled for the win at Worlds this year, and both, well, Jade didn't come super close, but Joy came pretty damn close. She got it above the knees and almost locked it out and gave Sarah Naldi quite the fright backstage, I would imagine. So many legends, so many super strong lifters here in the top. Those top 4 lifters, any one of them you could see coming out on top, provided they're all back to their best, which I anticipate they will be. And Evie Corrigan, the introduction of Evie Corrigan, who's been one of the best pound-for-pound lifters, Sheffield champion in 2023, 3-time world champion in the 52s from 2023 until this current year. And moving back to the 57s, where is she going to fit in those top 4 lifters? Because I know Joy Namani's best 57 total is 506, but I mean, come on, 527.5, weighing 60 kilos, she's well beyond that. So those top 4 are quite a ways ahead, even though Bobby Butt is also super strong in the 500s now. But where will Evie Corrigan fit into that top 4? I think she could potentially end up on the very top of it. I know that she, lost against Megan Lee Smith, which in a way was good because we very rarely get to see that sort of passing of the torch moment. So it was actually cool that we got to see Megan beat her, because that makes her reign all the much more exciting now. But Evie is still the world champion in the 52s. She's actually no longer the world record holder. I just realized that was a mistake. She should only be the world champ there. So the globe symbol shouldn't be there. But regardless, it's still going to be champ v champ when we see her against Sarah Naldi. Not to mention Jade, not to mention Natalie, not to mention Joy. Hell, even Bobby Butters could be further into the 500s by then. The 57s is absolutely must-watch powerlifting. You cannot take your eyes off it, especially when those final rounds of deadlifts come with Jade and Joy loading up probably whatever they need for the win. And Evie Corrigan's also got a monster pull on her, so cannot miss the 57s. But there you have it. Those are my ranking of the most exciting women's weight classes in raw tested powerlifting. Let me know what you think, if you agree or disagree with my picks.